Molson Coors retired 11 beers from its line, which begs the question, what beer would you like to see discontinued? Hint, hint.
They say that beer is a man's world, but our guest today will tell us a woman's place is in the brew house.
He's Joe Sixpack, I'm Glen Macnow. We're at Tasker's Beer Barn in Exeter, PA for this edition of What's Brewing?
What's Brewing is brought to you in part by Montco Makers, powered by the Valley Forge Tourism and Convention Board. Download the app.
By Visit Bucks County. Travel the Bucks County Ale Trail. Check in digitally to 5 or more breweries to score a free t-shirt. Get your passport at visitbuckscounty.com.
And by the Conshohocken Brewing Company. Visit conchahockenbrewing.com for the latest releases, location hours, menus, and online store.
You don't have to go away to get away. Go and explore. Find the small businesses that make where you live a community. When you dine, choose homemade. On a free weekend, discover the great outdoors. And if it's brewed here, enjoy it with friends. Support small for an experience you won't find anywhere else. Make it local, make it Main Street, make it Montco.
This holiday season, where will you find yourself? Celebrating tradition or crafting your own? From awakening awe to igniting the night. Spend the holidays in Bucks County, Pennsylvania.
Hey, welcome to What's Brewing. He's Joe Sixpack, Know the Beer Authority. I'm Glen Macnow. We're at Tasker's Beer Barn, Exeter, PA, a phenomenal place. When we're done, we're going to loot their shelves. It's going to be a great...
Don't tell them that.
Oh, okay, sorry. Anyway, we always like to start with a beer swap, and our swap today kind of involves new developments, new ingredients in beer, kind of things that are trendy right now, and
Exactly.
you start.
All right, so this one is from Yards. It's part of their first draft series. It's called Cryo-Pop Madness. And the key here is that cryo word. It uses what's known as cryo-hops.
Cryo-Hops. Okay, tell me, what are those?
Okay, so what they've done with hops, you know, everybody loves their hops these days, and the flavor and aroma and so on. With cryo-hops, what they're doing is they are freeze drying these babies and then separating out the essential lupulin oils and then concentrating that. So what it does, the lupulin is part of the hops that gives the beer its aroma and hop flavor.
It's nice. It is nice and hoppy, I will say that. So I read a little bit about these cryo-hops, and I saw that they preserve hop freshness, kind of what you're saying. And they sell cryo-hop pellets now.
Correct.
At the, make your own beer places.
Right.
And they're very popular with home beer makers because, as you said, they intensify the flavor and the aroma, and you can take these pellets home and drop them in your own...
In your brew batch, exactly, and that's what it's like concentrated hop flavor. My problem with this particular beer, I like the taste and flavor of it.
Yeah.
When I drink a hoppy beer, though, I want that lingering hop flavor on my palate, and I think this beer sort of the taste disappears on this one pretty quickly. It's very smooth, and then after a couple seconds, and then it's gone. So.
Okay. All right. So here, speaking of trends, this is Crike, which is spelled K-V-E-I-K. Crike. It's a Norwegian yeast which ferments super fast.
Right. This one's from Boulevard Brewing that's made this
I'm sorry, yes. I should say exactly what the beer is here, shouldn't I? This is Crike IPA from Boulevard Brewing. A lusty 9% ABV, my friend.
So a high alcohol beer.
Yes, it is.
Which is, as I understand it, part of the nature of this yeast, this Norwegian yeast.
Yes. So I did a little research on this puppy.
Oh, it smells so good.
It is. It's got a nice nose to it. Are you
Tiny.
familiar with Lars Garshol? Well, Lars was a Norwegian scientist and blogger from Oslo who single-handedly brought the spotlight on Crike, a family of yeasts handed down through generations of homebrewers outside of Voss, Norway. It's hardier. The advantage, again, is it can ferment at high temperatures, low temperatures, ferment fast, it's not destroyed. You can make a high ABV, this one being 9%, resilient.
That's pretty cool. I understood that Lars, a little known fact, was the husband of Phyllis on the Mary Tyler Moore show, if I'm not mistaken.
Who knew? Anyway, this is a fine beer.
I like this beer. It's really good, 9.4% alcohol.
Yes, but here's my question. We got Crike yeast and we got Cryo-Hops, and they sound like, oh, that's cool, let me try that. Remember, like last year we did a thing on New Zealand IPAs?
Right.
And everybody was buying them. And by the way, they were good, but I think half the people are like, oh, New Zealand, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
Is this a real thing that means anything to beer drinkers? Or is it just like something new and cool and different? Like, yes, give me the Norwegian yeast, because that's cool.
If nothing else, craft beer's history has been one of gimmicks. We've seen this over and over again. You know, I remember going back 20 years ago, raspberry stout was a big thing. 10 years ago, it was black IPAs. So we've seen gimmicks come and go over and over again in brewing. Is this a gimmick? I think to some degree it is in terms of the consumer, because next week, who knows, there's going to be another yeast.
Right.
However, the difference with this one is that both the Cryo-Hops and the Crike yeast go right to the brewing itself. They have to do with producing more flavor or quicker fermentation, which is actually costs less. So I think brewers might hook onto this, but whether the consumers care, I don't think so.
So good for the brewer, doesn't mean much for the consumer, except you get to say, I drank a Norwegian yeast the other day. By the way, this is a fine beer.
It is.
All right, hey, coming up, this is gonna be fun. What beers need to be gone?
86.
We will give you the ones that are actually disappearing from the market and those that we think and our viewers think should go away. He's Joe Sixpack, I'm Glen Macnow. We're at Tasker's Beer Barn in Exeter. Great craft beer selection. Stay tuned for more What's Brewing. Welcome back to What's Brewing. We're at Tasker's Beer Barn in Exeter, PA. Terrific place, all kinds of beer. Great craft beers. And maybe one or two beers that are disappearing. Just six-pack. I would feel bad about this, except the beers that are disappearing are all beers that, like, good, be gone with you.
Most of them, it's the case. Molson Coors announced over the summer that they were going to discontinue 11 different beers. And some of them, I didn't even know they made the beers. For example, Miller High Life Light. Okay, honestly, everybody knows about Miller Light, but I didn't realize that Miller High Life Light was even a thing.
No, I know Miller Light and I know Miller High Life. I didn't know they ever tried champagne and bottled beers.
Exactly. So this beer is going to go. This beer is going to disappear.
This is my last chance.
So this is the last chance to ever taste this beer. Apparently,
and I've never had you before.
So. Let's see. Cheers, yeah.
There you go.
Tastes like nothing.
Tastes like nothing.
Yeah.
Carbonated water, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So it's beer flavored water.
Yeah, I won't miss that too much.
So some of the other beers that they're going to get rid of is Keystone Ice.
Yeah.
Mickey's Fine Malt Liquor Ice.
Never heard of that one.
Mickey's is the one. Some of our viewers will be familiar with it. It used to come in bottles with a big, wide mouth on the top of it.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah. Drink it faster.
Milwaukee's Best Premium, Old English High Gravity 800, Steel Reserve 211, which I think they actually have still have a few cans.
So most of these are kind of low-cost, low-quality beers,
Right, that's right.
Okay. And some of them are ice beers, and I know you've got a particular anti-ice beer stance.
Yes, actually I do. So this is not one of the ones. We did mention Keystone Ice, which was actually a fairly popular beer. I sold it at the Acme last week. So,
yeah, and that's going away?
So that was going away, but this one is not, because when they said that it was going to go away, I thought, man, goodbye ice beer.
And why do you think this is, why are you anti-ice?
Well, it just seems dumb, you know. I don't know what's the point of it, you know.
Okay.
I don't understand, you know, why an ice beer should be any different to a consumer for ice brewed for a smooth
All right,
taste.
so I have a theory on this, okay? This is what, natural ice?
This is natural ice. This
This is not a What's Brewing beer.
This is the 16th most popular beer in America. I should also mention one other thing, Glenn. It's also the second worst beer on ratebeer.com.
Ugh. Somebody got worse than that, huh? It's pretty bad.
Oh, man.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Here's
Taskers actually has this. They say it's one of the biggest sellers.
Yeah, well.
People like this beer.
But my theory, again, when we talked about in the first segment, people like, give me some of that Crike, give me some of this. I think people buy ice. I think most people buy that ice beer know nothing about the brewing. It has the word ice, so they think it's going to be cold.
Right.
Perfect for my tailgate. You just put the word ice in, and it's like, yes, that's what I want.
Yeah, well, you know, Coors used to sell beer. It was the coldest beer in the world.
Yes, that's it. Okay.
Like cold was a flavor.
So this raises the question of what beers need to be retired. And we got some great responses from our viewers, but we have our own opinions. You go first.
Well, if you ask me what beer should be retired permanently, it would be Michelob Ultra. Hands down, I didn't even have to think about this beer. Michelob used to actually be a decent little beer, but then they turned it into this Michelob Ultra. And it doesn't just taste bad. It's like almost like they completely pulled anything out of the beer that was actually good flavored. And then they foisted it upon us, the American public, just as a way to sell beer. Their money grubbers turned that beer bad.
I think that's a fine thing. All right, mine is one that we've actually discussed before. And I got to tell you, I still love the pony bottles, the 7-ounce bottles, Rolling Rock. They took it away from Latrobe. They moved it to Newark, New Jersey.
Right.
It has no flavor at all.
The thing about it was that glass-lined tanks of old Latrobe.
No more.
They don't actually make it in that. They make it with Newark water.
You're right. It's a lie.
It still says it on the label, but
it's
it says
a lie.
It couch it by saying to honor the tradition of that.
Please.
Blah, blah.
So we asked our viewers what beer needs to be retired, and here were their answers. First of all, we got all light beers. We got that.
Yeah.
We got a lot of people who said sours. The Beer Whisperer says, I'll be controversial and say Mad Elf. I never saw the big deal about that beer. I don't care for cherry flavor in beers. I like Mad Elf, but it's a seasonal thing. I like it because it
comes and goes. I couldn't drink it all year, but it does have fruit in it. I love it. I wouldn't want to see it disappear.
Joker 11 said San Adams Cherry Wheat. Francesco Russo, Iron City Light Mango. He said, it helps if you drop Southern Comfort into it. And Charlie Brown Martin said, and I like this, I'm going to read this. It's time for Blue Moon to ride off into the sunset. It's a lot of folks' introduction to beer that tastes good, but there are plenty of widely available wheat beers now to play that role better than Blue Moon.
I agree 100%. It's still a big seller, but once you've reached Blue Moon, if that's your beer, honestly, step it up, people. Do one better beer. There's a lot of them out there, good wheat beers.
Oh, there you go. And we always appreciate people's contributions. Coming up, we're going to talk about a woman's place in the brewery. Joe Sixpack, Glen Macnow on What's Brewing.
You don't have to go away to get away. Go and explore. Find the small businesses that make where you live a community. When you dine, choose homemade. On a free weekend, discover the great outdoors. And if it's brewed here, enjoy it with friends. Support small for an experience you won't find anywhere else. Make it local, make it Main Street, make it Motco.
This holiday season, where will you find yourself? Celebrating tradition or crafting your own? From awakening awe to igniting the night. Spend the holidays in Bucks County, Pennsylvania.
Hey, welcome back to What's Brewing with Joe Sixpack. I'm Glen Macnow. We are at Tasker's Beer Barn in Exeter. They got more than 500 great craft beers in here. So, we told you last week about our great contest we were doing this year. It's a What's Brewing scavenger hunt. We asked you last week to just get a picture of a t-shirt of a brewery. You can still send that to any of our social media accounts. This week, we are asking you to get us a picture of you with a brewer, Joe Sixpack?
A brewer. I mean, who hasn't gone to a brewer and didn't get that picture with
Yeah.
the brewer? But we have a little twist on it, okay?
Yes.
So you're going to get points for it, but we're going to give you 10 extra points, let's say. 10 extra points.
You just made that up.
Yes, I did. If the photograph is of a brewer without a beard.
Does such a thing exist?
Well, yes, there are.
Oh,
there
okay.
are out there.
Well, there
We're going
you
to
go.
talk about that in a second.
All right, so that's right. Take a picture of you with a brewer, preferably without a beard. Send it to any of my social media at Real Glen Macnow on Twitter, Glen Macnow on Facebook, at Real Glen Macnow Instagram. Send it to the show, What's Brewing PA, on various social media. Joe Sixpack, you are on Twitter as?
Beer_radar.
There you go. Should be a lot of fun. All right, special guest this week while we are at Tasker's. Taryn Noren is the author of A Woman's Place. Give me the book. Where's the book? There it is.
Here we go. A Woman's
Place in the Brew House, A Forgotten History of Alewives Brewsters. Brewsters?
Yes.
Witches.
I'll talk about that.
Okay, witches and CEOs.
It's a great idea for a book. This has been an issue that's been coming up a lot in the world of beer. But Taryn, welcome to What's Brewing.
Thanks.
And with all our guests, we want you to bring us beer because we don't get enough of it, obviously. And you did bring us a beer. This is Brave Noise Pale Ale from Winding Path Brewing. I'm going to pour it. Tell us about this beer.
All right. Well, Brave Noise is an international collaboration brew. We've been seeing a lot of those over the past few years. Usually it's for some sort of charity. Brave Noise is a beer that has been spearheaded by a woman named Brienne Allen, who is better known as Rat Magnet on Instagram because she's the one who really made this, salud.
Hey, everybody.
Cheers.
Made the Me Too reckoning happen in craft beer last May. And
good.
so this particular rendition of Brave Noise was brewed by a fabulous brewer named Irina Wise at Winding Path Brewing, which is part of Windridge Farms,
Right.
outside Gettysburg.
We've had the Winding Path beers on the show in the past. We're going to get a little bit into Brienne and the Me Too controversy, I guess I could call it.
By the way, let me just say, I like this. Crisp, seems fairly sessionable, kind of low alcohol. What's
it's
the...
a pale ale. It's, I believe, 4.5%. So
Okay.
it's a good,
nice.
easy
Good everyday
drinking
kind of beer.
Very nice beer.
Yeah.
But let's get to the point of your book first, which is about women in beer. Beer is often thought, and for a lot of different reasons, as guy. It's a guy thing. We think of like I pointed out, the brewers with the beards,
Right.
and the whole notion of a male-oriented thing. We've had the advertising that's skewed towards men. But your book says that there's a history of women in brewing that maybe many of us don't know about.
Right, so the fact that beer is considered a man's drink is a very modern phenomenon because starting from, I say about 200,000 years ago, give or take about 100,000 years, there's some discrepancy of opinion, but really once humans started walking on two legs, we started walking out of southern Africa, and that's when we became hunter-gatherers. And as the Penn Museum's illustrious Dr. Pat Mcgovern, who your viewers might recognize from doing the Ancient Ales series
Sure.
with Dogfish Head, he's fond of saying while the men were out hunting mastodon, the women were back at the camp in the village, tending to the fire, the children, and brewing the beer. It's crazy to me that people don't know this. Beer's been the staple beverage of families for thousands of years.
Thousands of years.
Forever.
And so, you know, who hangs out toiling in the kitchen, making food, making the beverages? It's the women. So for instance, two colonial women I learned about who are of local interest, I learned about through reading Rich Wagner's book about the history of beer in Philadelphia. And to be honest with you both, I was completely horrified that I've never even heard of these two women.
So tell us, our viewers, who are these women?
So these women, one is Mary Lyle.
Mary Lyle.
She inherited her father's brewery in Old City in colonial times. And then over on the other side of the river, we have Elizabeth Haddon, who actually founded Haddonfield.
Okay.
She was a brewer, maybe even a distiller, and her brewery still exists. It's on private property, but I snuck back there once, and they were gracious enough to let me crawl around.
So we had women as brewers in history, ancient times, and right up into the colonial times. What happened where men became the leading people in the brewing industry?
Right, so what we see that happened here in the United States to make Americans think of beer as a man's beverage has happened over and over and over throughout time and space. And that's this. Remember, we talked a couple minutes ago saying that it was women who would be doing the brewing, the household chores. Well, at some point in every single civilization that has brewed beer, and it's a lot of them, at some point, either economics, it was usually economics, and or politics and or religion, those forces came in and replaced women who were doing this as like a cottage industry. Maybe, you know, they'd be brewing a little for their families. If they had any extra to sell, they'd sell it and make a couple pennies. When it looked like it was going to be profitable, or maybe capitalism was forming, or maybe the church, you know, started to get threatened by women who had some independence and maybe spoke out and a little bit of money. Nope, gotta shut that down.
Wow. Let's hold up the book, A Woman's Place in the Brewhouse Terra Noren. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for everything, and thank you. Let me have that good beer there.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for this. Brave Noise, good name. Pale Ale, Winding Path Brewing Company was involved. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back. We're going to talk to Tom Tasker, owns this here joint, next on What's Brewing. Well, we're back with What's Brewing, and I'm with Tom Tasker. He runs this empire. Tom, you and I were talking a little bit ago about how craft beer is now a much bigger part of the business. Tell me a little bit about that.
So every year, quarter after quarter, craft beers this is what we focus on. We have today we have over 523 just different craft beers.
I want to try every one.
Oh, that'll be fun.
All right. Let's go for a little bit of a walk, because I know one of the things you want to do is you want to show off the people who work for you. So let's start here. This lovely woman is not standing by this door for no reason, right?
This is Nicole. She's the store manager. She's in charge of the store, the employees, getting everything looking nice, organized. She does a great job, and we couldn't be doing this without her.
That's good. I love that you're proud of your people.
Very proud.
And as we walk down this aisle, again, I am overwhelmed by the variety you got here. Just kind of tell me a little bit, what's on my right, what's on my left?
Well, right here is our import section.
Nice.
For the smaller
By
stuff.
the way, I tried one of these a couple weeks ago. I hated it, but nonetheless, people like it. That's good.
Yes.
You got the Leffe, you got the Carlsberg. What about on the right?
Well, over here, this is pretty much all the craft beer. These next three aisles are all craft beer, wide range of.
Oh, it is wide.
Constantly
I mean,
turning
I
over.
see Funk Brewing, which is a good Pennsylvania beer. Saucony Creek, Kentucky. This I have not tried. This Kentucky Vanilla Barrel Cream Ale. I like that. So here's the thing. You have so many beers and so much going on. Here's your hard ciders going on here. We're not going to talk about the hard seltzers because I hate those things, but nonetheless.
Understood.
Okay, so let's continue over here. Apparently, this is your craft beer ace.
This is
correct?
Andrew. He knows more about craft beer than I ever will.
Andrew, how are you?
Very good. How are
Nice
you,
to meet you. I'm great, and I asked you to kind of pick out a couple of your favorites, so let's discuss a couple that you really like.
All right, we're going to start here with beer from Single Cut. It's called I Am an Alligator.
You know what? I'm a big fan of Single Cut.
And it's actually a David Bowie lyric as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, they usually work rock lyrics into their stuff.
It's always fascinating when you
what was it? Weird and Gilly. It was one a year or two ago that I really enjoyed.
But it's a double dry hopped IPA, a double IPA. It's absolutely phenomenal. Has a great smooth finish. Not too hop forward. Very, very good for the casual IPA.
Nice, love it.
This guy right here, we have an Imperial Tiki sour from Humble Forager. Most sours are coming around 4 or 5%. This guy's 9%.
Wow.
And it looks like pineapple juice when it pours out, and it's absolutely amazing.
Oh, you got to be careful with that, right?
Very
okay,
dangerous.
very nice.
They go down way too smooth. And then for a dark beer, we have Nocturnal Creatures from Double Nickel. That is a chocolate-covered Pretzel Imperial dessert stout. This is 13% alcohol. This is not for the light of heart, but it is absolutely amazing for dinner. After you eat, if say you had red meat or something like that, it pairs absolutely perfect with it.
Oh, that's beautiful. Wait, where'd Tom go? Tom, get back here. All right, so Tom, this is all great. Again, let's talk a little bit about this place. Tell people how to find you, because a lot of our viewers don't live here, but I'm telling them it's worth the drive. So,
yes, we're right on 422. We're about halfway between Pottstown and Reading, in Exeter Township. Easy to find, and
hours?
Our hours are Monday through Saturday, 9 to 9. Sunday is 11 to 6.
Great, and worth the drive. And if you come out, try to find Andrew, because he will steer you correct. Tom, always a pleasure to be here. We always thank you and Lisa for bringing us. Andrew, so nice to meet you. Thank you. That's going to wrap it up. We will be back next week with a whole new edition of What's Brewing.
What's Brewing is brought to you in part by Montco Makers, powered by the Valley Forge Tourism and Convention Board. Download the app.
By Visit Bucks County. Travel the Bucks County Ale Trail. Check in digitally to 5 or more breweries to score a free t-shirt. Get your passport at visitbuckscounty.com.
And by the Conshohocken Brewing Company. Visit conchahockenbrewing.com for the latest releases, location hours, menus, and online store.